Do you ever feel miserable? Do you ever feel that no one cares about you and no one is interested in you? Let me tell you, it's not true. HMRC are interested in you. HMRC are very concerned about what you do, and they're always watching you. Creditors are interested in what you do, and if you do owe money, bailiffs are often interested in what you do and are also watching you. So don't feel bad. There's always people interested in you. I wanted to just mention very quickly about bailiffs. It's not the subject of the conversation, but it leads into it. We don't like bailiffs. I don't like bailiffs. I've dealt with them for years, just thick shits. You know, a lot of them are real scum. I'm sure some are very nice, but while they're doing that job, they're scum. And they're after taking whatever they can off your premises. Now, you can argue, and it depends which side of the fence you're on, because obviously if you owed money and a bailiff recovers it, great. But a lot of the time, it's not individuals that are issuing for bailiffs, it's generally some area of government or the rates people or something. And quite often, the money isn't actually owed. Or if it is owed, it could be dealt with in a different way. So I'm always very concerned when a bailiff turns up. Now, why is it in the top of my head at the moment? It's in the top of my head because I got a bailiff on my premises the other day. It wasn't for me, it was a mix-up. They'd got us mixed up. But it was so stressful trying to get rid of them. We actually got the courts in the end telling them to go away. I actually called the police, and the police wouldn't have anything to do with them because, well, the bailiffs are there and they've got a writ. They didn't even have a writ, it was a false writ, and it wasn't even in my company's name. But because this company was registered at my premises, they would not go. And it was the most frustrating, aggravating thing ever. And I was actually quite ill after it. You know, I actually sat there at my desk and I actually went home. And I don't want you to feel like that. Now, had the courts not intervened, I would have had to go through all my filing cabinets looking for invoices to prove that my equipment and computers belonged to my company and not the company they were looking for. But the other thing that bothers me is I've always been a bit of a collector of comics. I like superheroes. And over the years, my son, my partner, my daughters, family, they've all bought me ornaments of superheroes. So my office has got ornaments of superheroes. They're not worth a great deal, but they're very sentimental to me. And they wanted to take those, and they said, well, give me an invoice. And I didn't have an invoice because there were presents. And it's that frustration. So here's what I really want to talk about. I want to talk about you keeping your house in order. Check contracts, because quite often you can have a dispute because there's something wrong with a contract. You're being the nice guy by just putting up with the other term breaking the contract. But as soon as you say, no, look, I don't like the way you're doing it, I'm not paying you, enough's enough, and they go to court and you haven't checked your contracts properly, you've lost. People lose cases because they don't even turn up to court. They don't realise that they've got to appear in court, and if they don't go, they've automatically lost the case. And then it's more and more money to appeal it, more and more stress. And I'm convinced that a lot of people pay debt that either they really don't owe or they're being cajoled into paying more than they need to, and it's gone bigger and bigger. I mean, when the bailiff was here the other day, he wanted to add an extra £500 because he said, if you don't settle it in the next half an hour, I'm going to add another £500 to the debt. And if I would have owed that bill, I'd have been £500 down. You know, and people often sit there and they don't know what to do. And sometimes while they're trying to scream and shout, the half an hour goes and they've lost that money. So take care of your paperwork. Make sure everything's to hand. Make sure you do look at contracts. I've recently employed a team of lawyers working for me. And their brief is to look after me, look after my company. Make sure that all contracts are as I expect them to be. Make sure that any contracts I've given to people are all as I want them to be. And just make sure that we do things properly. Make sure that, you know, being moral isn't always the answer. It's more about making sure you dot the I's and you cross the T's on paperwork. HMRC are the same. They're actually, when you deal with HMRC, whether it's a VAT investigation or a tax investigation, they're actually very nice. All this tax man's horrible, VAT man's horrible, they're out to screw you into the ground, it's just not really true. They just want to see good paperwork. And if you've got good paperwork, that's all they want. And you'll have a clear sailing through any investigation. And this is what judges want. They want to prove ownership of goods. So I am wrong bringing gifts to me into a commercial premises, you know, especially if I don't have receipts, because it always opens up that door that there are problems. There's also insurance issues because they belong to me. Why they might not be insured. You know, there's all sorts of things. So keep your paperwork right. My lawyers, even though they're brought in to protect my company and me, we can also have a look at any problems you've got. So my lawyers, because they're working with accountants, because they come from a commercial background, they understand business. So if you do have any problems, just let me know, and we can at least have a look at it for you before you start going into any sorts of problems. Remember, it's always better to communicate before you litigate. Thank you.